So, Cyberpunk 2077 is in some trouble. If you didn't know, they may face a class action lawsuit because of Cyberpunk's 2077 misrepresentation. Basically, what this means is that the game is misrepresented in advertising, so when the game was advertised, it looked very different to the actual game. This is the main accusation within the lawsuit. But what does it all mean? For now, we don't know much, but CD Projekt Red can be in big trouble. However, it is unlikely to happen because all of these lawsuits and conflicts usually dissolve into nothingness. Before you try to say anything and attempt to counter me, this is how things work in the business world. So it may be actually surprising if the lawsuit transforms into a significant issue. But the reality is that it is unlikely that this lawsuit will develop into anything significant. However, did CD Projekt Red deserve to be punished for that in the first place? That is the question I want to answer. Before I talk more about it, this is a disclaimer. I am a bit biased towards CDPR because I really like CDPR and I respect them a lot, but the liability does lay on them in this case. That's because they are responsible for the game they made, obviously, and they were the ones doing all the marketing and all of the legal and everything around the game. So the liability for anything faulty within the game does fall on them. CDPR did do a few shady things before launch, and they should get punished a little bit, but that punishment should be more like a slap on the wrist instead of a lawsuit, basically, because they are acting out like CD Projekt Red sold a completely different game, which is not true. Sure, the game looks a bit questionable and not great on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, and also it doesn't actually play as well. Apparently you get like 15 frames per second. However, the game doesn't look like a Barbie doll adventures game or some other completely different game like Bugsnax or something along these lines. What I'm trying to say is that you still know it's Cyberpunk. So unless you bought Cyberpunk and you see like Barbie dolls at a tea party, that'll be an issue. But that's not the case here. However, we cannot blame CD Projekt Red for all these issues. Why? Because you, the gamer, put them in that position. Allow me to explain it. This may be a bit complex and your position may be biased, so just allow me to explain it to you, because the issue may be a bit complex. When CDPR announced that they would delay Cyberpunk 2077 for the third time from November 19th to December 10th of 2020, that pushed many people over the line because they were looking forward to enjoy the game. What could have they replied with? Well, they could have just said, the game may not be in a good state, let's just give them some time. Let's give the game more time in the oven so it develops into a good game, so that when we actually get to play the game, we can actually enjoy it, so it's not a buggy mess like Fallout 76. But guess what? It was just a huge community outrage, and there were a lot of death threats and a lot of very unpleasant things said about the developer and the people working at CD Projekt Red, which is obviously not great. This is what could have caused this issue in the first place. Why? They definitely knew that the game was not in a good shape to release, especially for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, but they did not want to delay the game further because a lot of people were really negative towards the developers and a lot of potential revenue could have been missed out on. I don't even think that CDPR really cares about making a ton of money as long as they're profitable and can pay the bills. Since we can actually tell that CD Projekt Red is really passionate about their games that they create. But a lot of community backlash puts more pressure on CD Projekt Red. And I don't want to disappoint you. They actually do not want to disappoint you because they want to be proud of the game. So you just added more pressure to them, and they knew that the right decision was to delay the game or release it in a terrible state. That was one of the two options. Delay the game again or release it in a terrible state. They had to make one of those decisions, so they did, and whatever decision they could have made would result in a lot of negative press. because people would complain that the game is buggy, like it is now, or that the game is delayed again and again and again. So they can't win. CD Projekt Red could not win in that situation. So what the community did was pin CDPR in a position where whatever they did, the outcome of that would be perceived as a negative sort of outcome to most of the audience. Which is like, sure, the game should have been less buggy, but that could have been resolved if people allowed CD Projekt Red just to do their thing, work on the game without too much pressure, and make the game the best they can. If this huge amount of pressure was not there in the first place, that would have led to better outcomes, and any legal issues would not be significant, and the marketing done for the game was great anyway. The marketing would have represented the game more accurately, even on platforms like PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. If you gave them the time, they could probably get 30 FPS stable game without like any huge bugs and issues that make the characters look like deformed creatures. And as many of you know, the game looks brilliant on PC, and it does look accurate with the trailers and most of the marketing done, and even the graphics look better than in the trailers. And the crowd is significantly smaller in more densely populated areas. However, the environment and the general area is still populated and feels alive. What I'm trying to say is that if you gave them time, they would have done a good job. You know how well they did it for PC. You know that they can do it. They are capable of making this game. All they had to do is add more time on the older consoles at least to just adjust a few settings, optimize the game. So the accusation of misrepresentation could not have been made in the first place if you gave them time to make the game better so that the character textures and meshes weren't broken. It would be very possible. I still think that the lawsuit will not pass, but it could have been much better for CD Projekt Red if people didn't have unrealistic expectations and demand a game that could meet those expectations. Hopefully, I explained the situation to you well and you understand the reasoning behind it. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like. If you didn't, drop a dislike. It's cool. And if you want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe. Also, if you're watching this on Christmas, Merry Christmas.